Hey guys, welcome to Wood Live. We're in the wood studio shop today. Myself, Kevin, and John. He's a little camera shy. We're here to kind of preview or release part of the November 2023 issue. Right here, it's got the track saws on the front. We did a track saw review. We're going to go through kind of the projects in the issue. I think John might have a little technique-y sort of thing he's going to do, and then we're going to bring Dave Stone, our managing editor, up. He's going to talk about track saws. So pretty exciting stuff here. As usual, if you have questions, just type them in. We'll try to answer them if we can. John specifically doesn't want to cover food safe finishes today, so don't ask. Anything else?
That was a very good intro.
Thank you.
And I love the minute we start, they start dumping bodies down
the garbage chute right outside our door.
Forgive the noise outside, because the trash chute's right outside the doors. You want to get started with your little project?
Well, I'm just saying, you don't have to give out a yodel while you dump it. But anyway.
So,
Okay.
you go first. Why don't you talk about your little candle?
Okay.
Down there.
In this issue, we did a little tea light candle holder. Sounded like a great idea at the time. And we had a couple of techniques in it. The cups are actually laminated, and I should be careful. So these are actually loose. So it's in many ways, it's a little scrap wood project where you can use some contrasting woods. And probably the hardest part actually is drilling out the cups. You're drilling through end grain.
Yep.
So unless you really hold it down, it kind of wants to jump around at you. But
Definitely something you'll want to clamp up, not try to hold that while you're the Forstner bit swinging around.
yeah, you'll need at least 3 good fingers.
Yeah.
Just a thumb and a forefinger, that won't do it. But we actually are going to try something here we didn't try last time. We had Jim in the shop, Jim Heavey.
Yep.
And he was actually making a set of these for, I believe, maybe the wife and the daughter. And so he did a quick video on how to lay out the Octagon to cut this.
Yep.
So this starts out as a long strip. So we did it about a foot long, so you could actually run it through the planer. And then you create the Octagon and then slice these cookies off. So we have about a 2-minute video with Jim. We'd like to try that. It kind of jumps to that. Jim worked very hard on this video. The hardest thing was getting his head out of the way. So at home, every time you see a little bit of hair, scream, get your head out of the way. I guess he had to, that was, you know, it's the overhead shots. So Jim will do that, and I will see you next time.
So the goal is to make an octagon out of this 4-sided 2-inch square block. And to do that with perfect matching sides takes a lot of math, and anything that has a lot of math, I'm out. So what I did is I made a little template like this, and I reduced the math to just using a straight edge and a compass. It works perfectly. Let me show you how I made this. Start by using a straight edge and going to the diagonal. There's one, and there's the other. So this is my center point. And now I'm going to take a compass, and I'm going to put one point of that compass on the corner and adjust this so it bisects that line. I'm going to go from corner to corner and work my way around each edge. So again, into the center and the last one. And now finally, each one of these lines comes to the outside of the square. I'll just connect those points. And now to test the math, I'm going to go from one of those lines to the other, and you'll see that's 2 inches. This one is 2 inches. And of course, because this is a 2-inch square, this side and this side are 2. So each one of these opposite faces are all exactly 2 inches apart. Now it's time to line up the table saw blade and start making those cuts. I've set the table saw blade to 45, and now using my little setup, I need to find a left-leaning table saw blade, and that's here. Tip is right there. And I'm just going to adjust the fence until that blade will cut right on the edge of that line, like so. And you'll see here that it's on the edge of that line, and this one, and this one, and this one. So I'm very comfortable that the layout is perfect. The blade is in exactly the right spot because the template I used is showing that. And now I can take my blank and be comfortable enough to make all 4 of those cuts. This is a perfect way to make an octagon out of this using this technique and that little setup block.
Hopefully that was a
Yeah,
success.
I think that was a good video. The one thing I think he left out at the end was something about that was dedicated to Rachel or something like that. I think that was part of the video. But
It might have been sponsored by Rachel.
could have been.
I'm not-
Could have been. We were told this. So anyway,
Hi, Rachel.
hi Rachel. Back to the projects. You want to keep rolling or you want me to do it?
Why don't you
Back
go?
forth? Okay. Well, I want to talk about, this is we took us long enough to do this, and I know that the record playing things are coming back with the youngsters and this older crowd that still has records left over. This is just, it's not to hold your entire 15 egg or milk crate collection, but maybe just showcase some of your favorites. It basically has a little sliding door that you can kind of hide half your collection. This panel up here in front, the door actually leans back so you can actually display your copy of Cat Scratch Fever right there. Just a nice little cabinet, very simple. Did do some waterfall joints, and you can see this was a theme for me in this issue. I did it on this project and this project, so no more waterfall joints for a while. Pretty simple construction on that. And then pivoting to this is just a valet, and one of the unique things on this, we did do a nice kind of primer on hand-cut dovetails. Basically, this is a great place to do that. You got a small project. You're not going to dedicate yourself to a whole dresser full of drawers trying to dovetail a bunch of stuff. It's just a good way to practice. If you kind of mess one up, you can easily start over with this. So, but there's I think almost a whole page dedicated to that process. So I encourage you to give it a try. Might even allow you to buy some new tools or stuff that maybe you didn't have before, and this will give you an excuse to do that. The other thing I kind of liked on this project, if you could zoom in just a little bit, is this detail that I created with just a bullnose or a fingernail bit. Something kind of unique, just to give it a little decorative touch, and pretty simple and an inexpensive router bit at that. So.
And jumping back to the LP
Right.
cabinet, you did those waterfalls with,
Oh, track saw. That's right.
so that'll
Right.
work into,
Yeah. And quite honestly, the track saw was probably the easiest method. Obviously, you've got that really long panel you're trying to manage on a table saw. A lot of things can go wrong quickly. The track saw, obviously, it allows you a much more controlled cut. And very clean, thin kerf blade, so you're not losing that much material for your waterfall too. So, yeah, good point. I think I may have actually did that on this project too. But
did you?
Yeah.
I found your sidebar.
Yeah. There you. Yeah. Almost whole page. So,
Almost over.
you want to bring Dave up and have him talk about track saws since we're talking about track saws, and then we can take a break.
That sounds marvelous.
So I'm going to introduce Dave Stone, who's our managing editor. Dave is responsible for pretty much everything other than what we do. So
This is a
Yeah,
guy,
you can't blame me for everything. Can't blame me for
he sits right by me.
he does.
Uh-huh.
He does.
Yep.
This is John.
No
Dave,
kidding.
nice to meet you.
Hi.
Nice.
It's nice to meet,
Hi.
the people that work around where I am. No, I'm joking, of course.
Do you need some space?
Yeah, I can throw a little space in. Actually, now here comes the next really loud thing passing by in the hallway, so this is super convenient. Before I start, I'll remind everybody that right now we have the Wood Prize a Day giveaway going on right now. You can go every day now, still going through November 8th. You can go on each day and register for a prize. Today's prize, in fact, is a Penn State Barracuda 2 lathe chuck bundle. Nice outfit to have. And you can go to woodmagazine.com/daily23 and register every day for a different prize. Yep, the link's in the description. So check it out, and there's some really cool stuff available. So no, you can't win it. You don't need to look. So yeah, we took a look at a bunch of track saws for this test. 16, in fact. An entire truckload of track saws. I have pictures of my truck stuffed full of track saws. And I think by now, most people are pretty familiar with what these are. It's a plunge cutting circular saw that rides along a track to help make smooth, straight cuts. One of the things that gives it an advantage, aside from moving straight, is there's an anti-chip strip here that the blade rides right along, so that keeps tear out at a minimum. We tested 8 corded and 8 cordless models, so had quite a bunch, cut miles of sheet goods. We cut 4-quarter and 8-quarter hardwood, and had some really interesting results. What we found overall is that if you're used to cutting with a circular saw or used to not liking cutting with a circular saw, almost any track saw will give you better results for straightness and really good results for smoothness on the track side of the blade. But we also found that no single track saw that we tested gave us every feature that we wanted. There are some things that we really like, and this Festool corded saw was the one that we voted as our top tool. And interestingly, at the opposite end of the spectrum, price-wise, Civil Wen cordless model was our top value. And both offer, across the board, they offer similar features. They will cut straight, they'll cut at 90 degrees. They will all make bevel cuts. They can all make plunge cuts if you'd like to start a cut in the field somewhere. But we see some differences. And like I said, no one saw has every feature that we'd like. For example, one thing that we really like on all of these is a riving knife. And if you see on the Festool and some of the other saws in the test, there's a riving knife. And just like a riving knife on your table saw, it keeps the kerf open as you cut. In some cases, like with this one, the riving knife is retractable so that you can come to the middle of the field and plunge without the riving knife being in the way. On other saws, it's removable, and on some, it doesn't retract or easily remove. So not a big deal if you're making normal cuts, but if you want to make plunge cuts, having that riving knife out of the way can be a factor. So many exciting things to say, I just don't know what. One of the other things that you were talking about making the waterfall joints, and actually I'm going to pull a different saw up here for this. You'll see how coordinated I am. So when you're making a bevel cut, like is needed for that waterfall joint, I'm just going to aim straight ahead here. That might be easiest. Why, thank you, sir. And you're tipping that saw clear over. One thing that can happen on track saws is now all of the weight of that saw is out here. And you can put 2 hands on and guide it, but some of the saws actually have a little tab built into the base that locks into the track to keep it from tilting off. It's another feature we liked, but again, not found on every saw. So what it really came down to with the track saws is overall performance was the key to our winner. No one saw did everything perfectly. No one saw did everything poorly, but it's not an inexpensive investment, but especially if you work with a lot of sheet goods, if you want to do things like waterfall joints, if you're building large glued up panels that are beyond the capacity to wrestle on your table saw for squaring up and cutting to width. There's nothing better.
I don't know how I lived without the track saw, to be honest with you. Even if you have a big table saw set up and you have the ability to rip plywood, for if older people, like myself, you know, wrestling big sheet goods is tough. This is a great way to break stuff down, so it's manageable. The other thing, this may sound crazy, but I use this track saw with veneer work. It's a great way to cut a perfect edge and just lay your veneer down. You can put a sacrificial board down underneath, zero tear out, and then you've got an awesome way of making a great seam. I mean, and I'm talking about seams, you know, if you're doing a big panel that's maybe 2, 3, 4 foot long. This is hard. It's hard to beat. So you'll find uses for them. And speaking of circular saw, I don't think I've seen my circular saw in several years. So
Yeah, I haven't used, since I got one, I haven't used it for anything but rough
but
cutting.
this is they're a great tool.
Yep.
And it's good to see that you've got price points all over the place that, you know, you still can get quality.
Yeah, I mean, because you can get, you know, this is, I mean, our winning saw, I'll have to look because, you know, he said older people, I'm older than him, so my memory has failed even farther. Yeah, I might need 2 pairs of those. You know, you can spend $900, you can spend more, or you can, for less than $300, you can get into a saw that will do the job well. One thing that was interesting in this test, by the way, a lot of times we try to level the playing field by putting the same blade on every saw. We weren't able to come up with one blade in the sizes that we needed that was available for each saw, so we tested them with the stock blades. A lot of these companies offer different blades for different materials, and with especially the lower price saws, you can find aftermarket blades for them, and an upgrade in the blade will make a big difference in the cut quality that you'll get too. So yeah, I mean, it's a tool that we all really like. Like I said, I can't imagine being without one now. You'll see the full test in the issue and how we went through all 16. And, you know, if you ever have questions about them, let us know. And if you have questions now, type them in and we'll see if we can answer them.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Dave.
Cool. Now I'll get back to the experts. Or Kevin and John, whoever's available.
That'd be John. Yeah.
I'll get my
Cool.
stuff out of your way.
You want to talk about your tool tote?
Is that what we're calling it, tool
I don't
tote?
know what you call it. I don't know.
It should be terrific tool tote. Oh, customizable.
Customizable.
Okay.
Probably a good point.
We decided we were going to do a little toolbox, and they gave me a blank check, so kind of got away from us. But it's
very functional.
It's very functional. So this originally was going to be a 2-page project built out of pallet wood, and now we ended up with this. So it was only like 10 pages though. So
The box joint sent it over the edge.
the box joint sent it over the edge.
Yep.
So at its core, we have you know, a basic toolbox, box joint on all the corners. And in this article, we actually do a sidebar on a box joint with adjustability on it, so you can dial it in. I know
Some people
like that more than others.
Yep.
We're pretty sure the advice on that works.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many times we went over in editing.
It's either all correct or exactly backwards.
Yeah, so if it doesn't work, turn it upside down and
Read it
it'll
that way,
work.
it'll be fine.
So yeah, in the bottom here, we just did a couple of bench planes with some back saws. And the hope on this was that you would build the basic box and really customize it. This removable tool tray here, we sized for chisels and small block planes. We do have a shoulder plane in the back, but basically the concept is you have this tray space, and then within that you can subdivide it any way you wanted to. We did it, you know, spaced out pretty evenly, so everything would go in there. The one thing you should be aware of is the way we have this set up, so you can get this shoulder plane in the back. Larger block planes are not going to fit in there. Right. So if you have a 60.5, a 65, any of the 9 1/4, 9 1/2, 9 3/4, that might come out to there. So just be careful if you're building this.
Or like that Veritas,
You know,
what number that block plane, the kind of race car-y looking one.
Yeah, that's a little bit too long.
Too long. Yeah.
So make sure you have your tools in hand before you start customizing this. Otherwise, then you have to go buy the tools to fill the box.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and the other thing I got to, when we were kind of loading this thing up to bring it back down here for this, I was kind of thinking, you know, it's a tool box, it's tool tote or whatever, but, you know, it's after just getting done kind of doing some dovetail work, all the tools are spread out all over your bench, and if you don't have a trough, it's like stuff just gets knocked off. This is actually, I could see you, if you have a bigger bench, obviously, this'd be something you could just stick on your bench.
yeah, or off to the side
Yeah.
like we have back here where
Yeah.
keep the dust out, open
Well,
it up.
just keep them organized so they're not rolling off and you're not knocking them off. But you can knock them all off in one big time.
And while we're here, do you want to explain why these are? I think this is cool.
Okay. Well, this is just one of those things that I was goofing around one day in the shop. So these are Stanley Sweetheart chisels. They're nothing fancy.
I'll turn that
I like these chisels because they're easy for me to sharpen. They're not the super hard steel, so you do have to sharpen them quite often. So I was goofing around one day with some gun bluing with another chisel actually that I had. So these were shiny.
And they come with almost like a coating.
Yep.
It's almost like a lacquer coating.
Some sort of lacquer. And I soaked them in lacquer thinner, took that coating off, and then I dropped these in gun blue. So it kind of gives them a little antique-y, I don't know.
And it keeps the bare metal from,
Rusting.
rusting out just off your fingerprints.
Yep.
So,
Anyway, kind of a fun thing to do with gun blue. It's just that
like the birchwood casing.
birchwood casing. You can get it online. You can get it. That's probably the best source. Is just get it off of Amazon. So,
Yeah.
something fun. Yeah, great little toolbox.
While we're here, I do want to talk a little bit about the handle because obviously you load this thing down, it's not light, and you don't want to pick it up and have the handle just go off in space. So you can actually see on the bottom the two pieces of end grain for where the handle ends go all the way down through the rails on this. And there is a little bit more going on than what we're showing here. So the makeup of this rail is actually two pieces of wood. So what we've done is here and here, these are notched out on the table saw individually and then glued together to create that mortise. Then once you have the mortise, and I've kind of put this one together, once you have that mortise glued together, then you go through and do the grooves for your panels. Tenons on the end that would go right in there, and then your handle end slides right down in there. So just quick, we were talking about a toolbox for hand tools. One way I clean this up, and maybe we could get nice and tight on this. So I didn't use a dado set on this. This is just cut with a combination blade, so you have a little bit of a rippling there. So one tool that I will use is a router plane. And you don't see this a lot, but so concept of a router plane, if it's a plane, it's got to have a blade in it. So this is the actual blade that comes out of the bottom of a router plane, usually L-shaped. This one's 1/4 inch wide. So with this company, you can get different widths. You can get 1/2 inch, you can get even small. Narrower stuff, I think they'll go down to even like 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch. So with this, not only can you clean up faces of stuff, but the narrow blade is nice because you could get down into a groove if you wanted to. And this one is by Veritas. I was just thinking, this guy is like 15 years old.
Well, it's got the Babinga.
It's got the Babinga handles.
They don't do that anymore.
So if you do that, they might still be coming with some old stock Babinga, but now it's that torrefied maple. But this is the large one. They sell a medium and a small. So what we're doing here is, I'm just going to set this up. It does have adjustment on it. So I'm going to take it easy at first and just do light passes. So this is one way to clean up those rough edges left by the table saw. I like to do a little bit at a time. So I'll cut a little bit, advance the blade further down, and that's how I'm cleaning that up. Typically where I have, well, this would have 4 pieces, so I'd be trading 4 pieces out as I'm making these cuts so everything is the same. But you can kind of see here, I'm going to work from the outside in. The one problem you can get into trouble here is if I go all the way out here, this edge could basically tear out. So I'm going to go outside in. And this is especially nice with that through mortise, where it has to look nice on the bottom side. Oh, and right there I tipped it a little bit. Okay, there we go. Got that cleaned up. So that's how I would get that cleaned up. Same thing with this would be the tenon that goes through here before I clean it. I'd have to, again, pull the blade up, because now I'm only going an 1/8 inch down. And you can balance this on the side and cut that off as well.
Yeah.
So,
Or get yourself another scrap.
yeah. So anyway, because a lot of times, you know, you look at this and go, is this worth setting up a dado stack? And it's just little stuff, so quick rough out most of the material, and then you can pivot to a hand tool to clean this up. So this would look like that, coming through that end. When I go to glue this up, you are going to get some glue squeeze out, and that's okay. But if you get this too tight, you can starve the joint as well. So there's one more little trick in this, and I'm going to try to do this without putting a hole in the workbench. So before the panel goes in, so let's say we actually glued this in nice and tight. We're actually going to pin it, and we're going to hide that pin. Does that look like center?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yep. Send it.
Full send. There it is. And then what is going on inside of there, so this never comes apart, is once you drill a hole, we put a brass rod inside of there. And then this is kind of your insurance that your handle isn't going to come off. You can like super glue this in place, or you can, oh, see, I was a little off. You can super glue that in place, or you can just let it float, because it can't go anywhere. Yep. So it's, you know, it's stuck in there. So
Cool.
that would be your little secret. Only airport security would never know.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great way to lock the handle on there. And obviously,
Yeah.
this has a little mass to it. That's a good little technique, even if you're not building this, you know, particular tool tote. So.
That's why I'm here, Kevin. That's why I'm here.
Thank you. So there is one other project in this issue that we have yet to talk about, but John hurt his back in a pickleball tournament, so he didn't want to carry this downstairs. But this is kind of an entry bench, cubby sort of thing. A lot of new home building going on today and around the country are incorporating these things kind of in the back by the garage and or the catch-all sort of thing. But if you happen to live in a house that maybe doesn't have those built-ins, this is kind of designed to kind of fill that void if you have the space. Obviously, this can be sized, upsized, or downsized to fit your space. But it's got drawers for gloves and mittens and hats and lots of hooks. And the baskets, I believe, are just kind of an online thing to find something that fits your kind of your style or your color. So, but anyway, it's a pretty heavy duty entry bench. So that kind of covers the projects for this issue.
And we did the tool test.
And we did tool test. You have a question?
Yeah, Dennis has a question.
Yeah.
Dennis
Go
asks.
ahead, Dennis.
Why did you talk to them?
Dennis asks.
He's waving. He was waving frantically.
Yeah. We saw Dennis waving.
Dennis asks, do track saws have special blades?
Well, they have special blades that the arbors are going to be kind of vary from circular saw blades.
Yeah.
But,
I can
yeah, go
pop
ahead.
in.
Yeah.
The
Because that's what you ran into.
The biggest difference, the biggest difference between a regular circular saw blade and a track saw blade, you'll find them often the same sizes. Some are 6.5 inch, some are 7.25 inch. They're in that range generally. But a standard circular saw blade has a 5/8 inch arbor, and these have a 20 millimeter arbor, which is larger. So you can't just throw a circular saw blade on. You will need to get a track saw blade. But good question.
What's the lockout on this again?
The lockout, there,
Or do you
let's
just-
see, this one is different. It's here.
Oh, that's
There
right.
you go.
Is that why they said fast fix?
Yes. Yeah, so one thing that's unique on the saws, John's pulling this one out. Because the blade is shrouded, you can't get to the bolt that attaches it. And you can throw all the pieces away. So they have a little stop so that you can stop the arbor at the right point. So if I lift this up, if I go to full plunge, I don't get to the blade, but they all have a mechanism generally where you can lock it down and then be able to access the arbor bolt. So yeah, you'll see that it looks and
yeah,
is
because
like
this one just has a little tab.
a regular, but yeah, it's a larger arbor.
This seems thinner than mine. Maybe I just have two on there.
You have a dado track saw.
Yeah.
There you go. No off on
Well,
the genius
my
switches there.
afternoon is gonna be-
Ignore the dado track saw.
The data
Do not try that at
You
home.
have to knock off every other tooth on each blade. Just make sure you do it.
Yeah.
So
Makes it
that-
cut
put
faster,
together.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or, if you just get it spinning and then bang it with a hammer so that it wobbles,
Yeah.
then, you just got to fine tune.
Yeah.
And it works
Did you
great.
do the mobile app thing too?
I did do the mobile
I think
app.
this is, and this is another, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No,
but
no.
This is a really cool, I really thought this was a cool little article. Everybody's got a cell phone, I don't care, but this is just a neat thing. It's several apps that he, I don't know if Dave downloaded them or,
I've got them.
but I think there's a lot of features other than just the calculator sort of thing. There's a lot of neat apps out there that kind of, for woodworkers, that I think it's an interesting article, worth the read.
Yeah, this is one that actually, so I spent 2 hours this morning double checking measurements on an upcoming project article. And so over the years, I've developed this ability to add and subtract fractions, which none of you want to have to waste brain space on. So I love this fraction calculator. I've used multiples, but this one's cool because you can put in 7 and 3/32 times 6, and there you go, 42 and a 16th. Oh wait, I forgot that I have 2 dados that are 3/4 inches wide, so that's 1.5 inches equals 41. So you can. This one makes it super easy. There's also one of the other ones that I really liked that's not pretty but works really well is a board foot calculator, because none of us remember the thickness times width times length divided by 144, and I'm not doing that in my head. I can barely do by 2 in my head. So you can come in here and input a length and say 96, and it's 6 inches wide, and calculate. If I've got 4 pieces, or if I've got 4/4, I know that I've got 4 board feet. But if I want to have 6 pieces, I can calculate again, and I know that I need 24 feet. Or, we always advise buying extra lumber. If you want to factor in waste, let's say I want to factor in 20% for waste, and calculate, there you go. Then plug in your price. Let's say you're buying walnut these days, so it's $274 a board foot. No, I'm joking, we won't do that. We'll do,
You don't get the 10% discount.
$12 a board foot. Calculate. So I know that if I'm going to get 4 8-footers, 6 inches wide, I need to calculate for a little bit of waste, and it's $12 a board foot. I know I've got $345 worth of lumber. So it's not a pretty app, but it's really handy. These are all shown in the issue. It's in the back section in our tools and materials section, and where to locate it is there. The nice thing with all these two is they were all free. Some of them have paid versions, but you can use all of them for free too. So yeah, really cool.
Yeah, thank you. You got anything else to add?
Other than stop reading the editor's angle.
Yeah. Stop yeah, that just irritates people. So stop reading that.
I got some hate mail over that one.
Okay, so when Lucas ends this with, agree, disagree, either way let me know, don't. It's a trap.
Just
yeah.
if you agree.
He's
Yeah.
he's lonely, and he wants someone to write him. And all he's doing is poking the bear. So that's
There's no cameras on my gesture. Yeah, that's a lot of mail.
give you a little
Tease,
sneak.
a little tease.
You want to
This-
tease
this?
that, or I'll,
You go. I think that's probably going to be more
Okay.
We're
interesting.
gonna go on the table saw there.
before we go,
Go.
our corporate overlords say that we have to be back the next issue that comes out. So we'll give you a sneak peek on 293, which is December,
January, correct.
So sorry, we always think of it as number. That's how it's in the schedule. So sneak peek on the train series. So last issue we did engine, coal tender, and the next issue we will give you tips on how to cut branches off your neighbor's tree while they eat dinner. And so that will be coming up in that issue. And you have something over there.
Yeah, this is a little more utilitarian over here, but basically it's a kind of a planer stand with some outfeed and infeed adjustable. So we all know that if we're trying to plane stock down, we've got multiple pieces of stuff. Sometimes this stuff runs off the end. This just gives you the little extra space on the inboard and outboard for sport longboards, or if you got multiples that you run through, they don't keep hitting the floor. So mobile cart, easy plywood construction, glue and screw. So nice little shop project. And obviously, this could be modified to fit anything. It doesn't have to be your planer. It's just a nice cart too. So anyway, that's coming up in issue 293, which is the January. So
Got that and about 4 or 5 other things. So.
yeah, we've got some great projects coming up. So I guess we'll see you guys in about a month or so.
In approximately 52 days.
52 days.
2 days.
No, but thanks for joining us. And
It'll be less than 52 because this was a week late.
that's right. Yep, you couldn't do it by yourself.
That is right.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.